natural lighting, special effects, or magnification. How all this got started was back in the 1870s. A couple young boys, they decided they were going to cut a hole in the bottom of the rowboat, put a piece of glass in it, and start paddling people up and down this river for a nickel a ride. A couple years after that, it became commercial, and 147 years later, here we are. We're still doing it today. Millions of people from around the world have been on these world-famous glass bottom boats, and it's certainly my honor to have everyone on board today. Over the years, there was a whole lot of things that were filmed here along the Silver River. There was over 200 movies, television shows, commercials, and documentaries that were filmed here. So I first stopped along the way. I'm going to take you to a spring that they named the Spring of Stars, and they named it that just to pay a little tribute to all the movie stars that's worked here over the years. People such as James Dean, Jerry Lewis, Jane Russell, Burt Reynolds, Tom Cruise, Lloyd Bridges, they've all worked here. Of course, we can't leave out Olympic gold medalist Johnny Weissmuller. He played Tarzan in those first 6 Tarzan movies. All 6 of those were filmed here along the Silver River. So this first spring that we're going to get to, they named it Spring of Stars. And it's going to be 26 feet down to the bottom of the Spring of Stars. Yeah, you heard me right, everybody. 26 feet. Those depths, they can be very deceiving due to the clarity of the water. But you can see why underwater filmmakers like working here. That clear water, that natural lighting, make deep water scenes very easy to accomplish without all the dangers associated with deep water filming. Now, one time Silver Springs was known as the underwater filming capital of the world. So the next location we're going to head to is an actual movie set. Some of y'all might remember that 1950s cult classic, The Creature from the Black Lagoon. A lot of those underwater scenes were filmed in this little cove right here. Once we get past this grass here, it's going to drop back down to 35 feet. You're going to see a cave down there at the bottom, and that cave is what's considered the creature's home. Now, back in the 1950s, we had a stunt diver that worked here for Silver Springs. His name was Rico Browning. Rico got hired to play the part of the creature, and he was hired for a couple different reasons. One of those reasons is that he could hold his breath up for 4 minutes. So they didn't want any bubbles in the scenes from scuba diving equipment, so Rico, he'd take a big deep breath, he'd swim 35 feet down into that cave you see beneath us, wearing a full costume. He'd wait for the director's cue and then swim on out, and they filmed those underwater creature scenes right here. Another reason that Rico was hired is that he could fit into the costume they'd already made prior to filming, so he literally fit the role. Whoa, that one bombed. Okay, that's alright. You know they require us to tell 3 bad jokes per tour, so just stand by. They get worse as we go. That's pretty eerie down there, huh? 35 feet, 1 breath. Who else would attempt it? No? What if your wallet fell down there? Oh, yeah. What if your towel fell down there? Yeah. Throughout our trip, you will be seeing a lot of different types of fish down there. We got 32 different species of fish here in the Silver River, including but not limited to, we got bass, brim, catfish, gar, bowfin, mullet, American shad, jay pickerel, that's name a few of them. We also got a couple of invasive species, a couple that don't belong. One of those is called the Procostremus or Placo. That would be the suckerfish that you'll see on the glass of freshwater aquariums. And they grow about 2 feet long here in the river. Another type of fish we got in here that should not be in here, it's called the tilapias. Anybody ever heard of tilapia before? Yes. Does anybody know where those come from? Well, there's a place in the world, and that place is called Publix. Shopping is a pleasure. You've heard of that place, right? I'm just kidding with you guys. They actually come from the Nile River in Africa. Tilapia was the first fish that was ever commercially farm raised. They got distributed throughout the world, and we're not quite sure how they wound up in here. But they're out competing our native fish. We're going to see a lot of those tilapia down there. They're going to be the bigger ones that are blue silver in color. Those are the tilapia that you're seeing. We estimate 58% of our fish population now are those tilapia, so maybe we need a good Publix to call, huh? Maybe they could do something with it for us. This area is called the Spring of Life. This is a series of springs through here. There's about 20 of them or so. And I'm very excited to show you a spring that I haven't been able to show in many years because it's been covered up by grass and stuff. I haven't been able to get to it. And it's flowing better than I've ever seen it. So I'll tell you how this spring got its name. Back in the 1950s, there was a plane flying over Silver Springs, and what they witnessed is a perfect heart shape in this spring here. So I'll try to line it up. That was 75 years ago, and this has eroded a little bit, but you can still kind of make out the shape of the heart. I'll come over top of it right now. You can see that heart shape down there. Cool thing about this spring here is it's got kind of a snow globe effect going on in that. What that is,
I see that.
shell, sand, and limestone that's all been trapped underground for thousands of years is being brought to the surface by the flow of the water, creating a snow globe effect, which is a very good visual indicator of what's happening here at these springs, because the water's so clear, if you don't see anything coming out of them, you don't realize how much water is rushing out of them. Which raises the question, where's all that water coming from? Well, all this water starts as rainwater, comes down to the earth, it gets filtered down to the sand and the soil, and enters into what's called the Florida aquifer. How I like to explain the aquifer to people is if you think of a piece of Swiss cheese, but instead of cheese, it's limestone. That's what our bedrock is here in Florida. It's a series of underground caverns, caves, and rivers. And anywhere there's a weak spot in the aquifer, the water comes to the surface and creates a spring. Now, by the time that water comes out of the ground, it could be anywhere from 20 to 100 years old. It comes out 99.8% pure and 72 degrees all year round. And this next big spring that we're about to pull into is what's considered a magnitude 1 spring. And to be classified as a magnitude 1 spring, it's going to need to produce in excess of 65 million gallons every 24 hours. This spring is a magnitude 1 spring. It's 1 of 4 along the length of the Silver River. And the name of this spring is the Blue Grotto. It's going to be 38 feet to the bottom of this one. Blue Grotto is named for that beautiful blue color. Thomas Edison actually named this spring back in 1917. Named it for that pretty blue color. And you might be wondering, how did the springs get that blue coloration? Well, as I was telling you at the beginning of the tour, there's no special lighting or special effects. What's happening here is the sunlight comes down through the water column. It reflects off the bottom, off the shell of the limestone, and then refracts back to us as a prism, and we see it as the color turquoise, similar to how a rainbow is formed. Blue Grotto, named for that pretty blue color. And I'm not sure if you guys had a chance to make your way to our ice cream shop yet, but there is a flavor of ice cream in there called Blue Grotto. And I had a little girl on my boat not too long ago politely informed me that this spring, it's actually named after the ice cream. So there you go, folks. I can tell you all the fun facts I know. She seemed very confident about that. So maybe one day when she's running glass bottom boats, you're going to get a little different tour from her. Blue Grotto, named after the ice cream. I'll go with that one. All this grass you're seeing beneath us throughout the trip, it's called eelgrass. That eelgrass grows about 4 to 6 feet in length. That grass is that was a cormorant underneath of it. That grass grows about 4 to 6 feet in length, and that grass is the favorite diet of the manatees. They can eat about 200 pounds of that every day, earning them the nickname of sea cow. Although they don't have any relationship to the cow, does anybody know the closest animal relative to a manatee? I'll give you a clue. It's a land-based mammal, and it's a big one. Walrus is a good guess, bigger than a walrus. Elephant's going to be the right answer here. Elephant's the closest animal relative to a manatee. Now I'm going to take you over to my favorite spring. This next spring's been my favorite ever since I've been a kid. But while we're crossing this main river here, I'm going to pull the boat out of here so you guys can feel the current of the river. You'll start feeling that river start sweeping our boat down, and that's because there's a massive amount of water flowing down the Silver River. The current flows at about 5.5 miles an hour, so I want everybody just make a mental note on all this water rushing down this river here. I'm going to reference that a little later in my tour. Oh, we got a little gator over here to our right.
Oh, I see.
Little gator sitting up on this bank here.
Oh, look.
I'm going to take a look at this alligator. I'll get you a nice one. I'll line it up right out the front door for you. I'll take a look at this alligator. There he is. Now, these alligators, they're not typically aggressive towards humans, but for some reason they're very attracted to fluorescent green sunglass straps. He looks like he's smiling for you all, doesn't he? Now, an interesting fact about that particular gator right there is that it's just a statue.
Plastic.
Every morning we come out here, we put a fresh coat of Omaha on for everybody to make sure it looks real good for them. I'll stay with you guys. Alright, so this is my favorite spring. It's called Spanish Spring or Cypress Spring. A lot of cool stuff going on in here. As we get into this spring, you're going to notice the huge cypress tree that's in here. It's hundreds of years old, perfectly preserved because cypress wood doesn't rot underwater. It's got a chemical in it called cypressine, prevents it from rotting. Native Americans, they called that eternal wood, built many things out of it, like dugout canoes. Here's the tree. Look very carefully underneath of this tree because you're going to see a boat laying down there at the bottom. That boat's in 20 feet of water. Again, those depths are deceiving due to the clarity. Back when I was a kid, they used to tell us that was some kind of a Spanish rowboat, that they weren't able to tell how old it was, where it came from. It was a big mystery, but over the years, it's been determined by our divers that it's actually one of the original glass bottom rowboats, and it was placed down there purposely sometime around 1940 or so, just to add some character to the spring. This swings back over the top of it. And if you notice how the bottom is glittering like that, that's the shell and the limestone that I was describing before. That's how the Silver River got its name. Is when the Europeans first got here, they saw that bottom glittering like that. They thought it was silver and named the river accordingly. We'll swing back over top of this boat on the way out of here. I can't have you laying on the glass wall like that, young man. You're welcome to sit and look over the edge there. Now, sometimes this grass can get pretty overgrown, this boat can get pretty overgrown with grass, but it's pretty cleared off right now. If you look right in the center of that boat, you'll actually see the rectangular framework where the old glass used to be on those glass bottom rowboats. It wasn't a very big viewing panel like we got nowadays, but that's how it all got started. And here we are today. So, what do you think, folks? Do you like my favorite spring or what?
It's a limestone.
Pretty neat here, right? I got a pretty cool little side note about this spring y'all might like. I'm not sure if anybody remembers one of Tom Cruise's earliest movies. It was Tom Cruise, Tim Curry. The movie was called Legend. It was kind of a mythological movie, with unicorns and stuff like that. There was a scene in that movie where the princess stripped her ring off of a cliff and Tom Cruise dove off, swam down and got it. All the underwater footage for that scene was shot in that spring right there. So if you'd like to revisit that, I'll save you some time. It's on YouTube. If you type in Tom Cruise Legend clip, it's about a 3-minute scene, and you'll see that tree, and you'll see the tree in the boat and everything. You'll be able to recognize it. Isn't that pretty neat? Okay, everybody, we're back out in the main river. We're going to start working our way back up current. It's a great time for questions. If anybody's got any questions for me so far, I'll try my best to answer this for you. No questions out there? That's okay. I said, no, sir. What you got? They don't allow any recreational swimming or fishing along the Lake Silver River. We do have our own private dive team, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about that later in the tour.
Kelp. Kelp.
Good question. Any other questions out there? I don't mind. I take it as a compliment when there's not a whole lot of questions. It just lets me know I'm doing my job pretty good, explaining things. Everybody enjoying their glass bottom boat tours today?
Yeah.
All right. I'm glad to have you guys out there. This is a great experience, right? I like these afternoon trips because we don't have all the kayakers around us like earlier today. Well, we had about 1,200 kayaks go down this river today.
Okay, back there. Okay, back there. Oh, what was that? That was a duck.
That's a dog.
Duck. Little birds.
That's a wood duck over there to the left. Very pretty duck. That's the male wood duck with the brighter colors. Usually you don't have to look too far. You'll see the female. They're the ones with the brown color, a little more subdued.
Look at
So I'll tell you a little bit about Silver Springs. Silver Springs, this was a theme park for many years. This was Florida's original theme park before Disney World was built. They called it Nature's Theme Park. I'm sure you got that feeling as you were coming through the front gates, right? We had all kinds of stuff going on back then. All this land to our left here, it's an island because they cut a mile-long canal that goes around it for the jungle boat cruise. We had all kinds of animals out there. One time we we had 4 rhinoceroses, we had zebras, llamas, gazelles, cheetahs. Up on the hill to my right, we had 2 giraffes up there with a really, really tall barn that the giraffes could fit into. They had a huge attraction up there that was called World of Bears. It was the world's largest bear attraction with Kodiak bears and black bears. They had a petting zoo for kids that had all different types of deer from around the world in there. They had a sky ride right over here, went way up in the air. You could see through the whole park. There'd be peacocks and flamingos walking around the park. All the landscaping was much more vibrant with colors, with all the flowers and fauna. There were speakers and music played throughout the park, but now that it's a state park, things are starting to quiet down, return more back to a natural form. We also had a water park here for many years. That's where I spent my summers. Now, as we're getting close to the dock here, some of y'all might be thinking that this is the end of the river or the end of our tour, but in fact, this is where it all begins, everybody. This is the beginning of the river, or the head spring. We like to save the best for last because this is when we get all the oohs and the ahs. So once I turn this boat way around this corner here, I would encourage everybody to keep your eyes on the glass because water depths are going to drop to about 50 feet deep here.
That's quite the dive. That's quite a dive.
Yeah.
Watch, it's gonna drop. It's gonna drop.
And I would like to personally welcome everyone to Mammoth Spring.
Look.
Stay with me, everybody. Ooh, wow. That's pretty spectacular, right? 50 feet deep here. This is the deepest part of the river. The spring opening is underneath me, so I'll be spinning this boat around to make sure everybody can see it. The spring opening is 65 feet wide, is 6 foot tall in the center, and produces between 3 and 500 million gallons of water every day. That does make it a magnitude 1 spring. That also makes it one of the largest natural springs on the entire planet. So just to give you guys an idea how much water is coming out of this spring, this all might look like the same water as when we left the dock earlier, when in fact this entire river basin has already refilled itself since we left. Every 24 minutes this river basin fills up, which would fill an Olympic swimming pool in just 45 seconds. And you guys remember when I pulled this boat out of gear and had you take mental note on all that water rushing down the river? Well, if you take a good look around us, you'll see that the river doesn't go any farther. So all that water you saw going down this river throughout our trip, it's all coming out of these springs I've showed you today. Mainly this one. Isn't that incredible? It's kind of hard to wrap your head around that one, right? This water that we're sitting on right now is going to be in the Atlantic Ocean in 4 days. And while you're looking down there, you might see some fish, you might see a turtle, you might see a cell phone, you might see some sunglasses. Interesting things that made their way down there over the years, but we do got divers that swim down this river periodically to keep everything looking pristine for us. So what do y'all folks think? How's that river looking to you today? Looking beautiful. We're very proud of it. Thanks everyone. So ABC owned this park for many years, American Broadcast Company. During those years, they did a lot of filming here. And one of the things they filmed it was a show called I Spy. That was late 60s, early 70s. It had Robert Culp and Bill Cosby. One of the episodes of I Spy, they thought they found the lost city of Atlantis. They filmed that right over here, and they left a couple movie props down here for me to show everybody that we can't leave out. They're pretty iconic here at Silver Springs. Coming into view, it's going to be 3 statues, and those statues, they represent Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades.
Turtle.
They were later used in some James Bond movies. The statues, they're in 30 feet of water. They stand 7 feet tall, and they will be down there for a very long time because they're made out of an ancient building material that's called fiberglass. Does everybody see those statues down there?
Yeah.
Would anybody like to get a closer look?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there's a few ways you can do that. Yeah. One of those ways you'll get wet and probably get a complimentary escort out of the park, but hey, you only live once, right? Another way is, originally there was 12 of those down there. When the ABC started pulling out of the park, they started removing them. Well, the locals said leave them down there. We like them. So they did leave us a few. So they got 3 of them down there. They got 2 more of them in the Discovery Center, which is the building to our right here. You can go in there and see those statues, feel what they're made out of. Also, there's an original creature from the Black Lagoon costume in there, but don't confuse that with Captain Oscar. He's in there working today. He ran these boats for 54 years, so he's got some stories. He's quite a character. Say hello to him for me. Now, I always love showing people these statues, but there is one reason that I don't like it. Unfortunately, those statues, they mark the end of our tour. So at this time, folks, I got to thank everybody very much for joining me today. We hope you enjoyed your Boss Bonnet boat tour. On behalf of myself, Silver Spring State Park and Cape Leisure, thanks very much, everybody. I appreciate you guys coming out. Thank you, folks. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Now, as we make our way back to the dock, I will tell you about an old tradition on the Boss Bonnet boat. It's a tradition that's been going on for over 100 years if you'd like to participate. Gratuities there are graciously accepted and appreciated. If you enjoyed your trip and you'd like to leave a tip, you just toss it right in there, right on that glass you've been looking through, turning that world-famous glass into the world-famous tip jar. Thanks again, everybody. Enjoyed having you out with me this afternoon. Thank you, folks. Thanks to everybody. Thank you, Tom. As the old legend goes, it's supposed to be 1 year good luck for every denomination you throw in there, so you don't want to let this opportunity pass you by. Thanks very much, everybody. Thank you, folks. Very kind, very generous. Yes, sir. What's that? Oh, because we haven't had rain in a long time. We are amazing. Thank you, man. We appreciate that. It was very nice of you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, man. Thanks, everybody. That's a great time. Generous of you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everyone. That's very nice of you. Thank you,
A little bit of money down there.
That's for him. That's for him.
If the kids are having more fun with money than they are the rest of the park, feel free to bring them all back down to the boats. You know, they're welcome to throw as much as they like. That's fine. Thanks, everybody. I do always like to tell everyone, too, that I do give all my tip money to charity. And there we go. Thanks, young man. We appreciate that. I almost got the creature. Yeah, Charities, that's my girlfriend's name. Alright, we're all lined up here. Little bump here at the end. Looks like we got Captain Bill and Captain TC up there. Captain TC, he's one of the greatest captains that ever sailed the Silver River. He'll be getting us all tied up nice and tight here. Once that happens, the gangway will start coming back down, which will signal that you're free to explore the rest of the park. Again, everybody, I do want to thank you very much for joining me today. Hope you enjoyed your Boss Bonnet boat tour.